Hey guys, welcome to True Story Sunday. I'm filming this on Saturday night because so I can have it ready for your viewing pleasure Sunday morning. Meant to get to this earlier, but it's just so hot. And I got a new firmware update that should help the new Drift HD. That's this camera in front of me to film better at night. So I kind of also wanted to test that out. So here we go. My story today comes from, I can't even remember what year it was, but I took a job in Montana. I lived in this horrible little town called Sidney, Montana, and we actually worked at a natural gas plant that was in North Dakota. So we would wake up and we would drive to North Dakota, like 20 minutes. It was very, very close. We were right on the border. It's one of the most horrible places I've ever been. I would rather go back to Baghdad than go back to Sidney, Montana. It was the worst. It was an interesting job though, because it was an industrial electrician job, and the type of people that work those jobs are very rough around the edges. Macho guys that they just have rough lives. When that job finishes, a lot of them, they live in trailers. They pull from job site to job site. They'll find the next job, and they'll pull their trailer to an RV lot, and that's where they live. They just live out of their trailer and they travel around from job to job. So I went there, and I was actually living in a motel. I was paying like $400 a week to stay in this horrible motel. It was so cold in there. I had to go and buy a space heater for my motel room because it was so cold in there. It was during the winter time, obviously, and if it was, oh, I almost got myself killed. If it was negative 20 degrees during the day, it was considered a really nice day. We were all pretty happy, like, oh great, it's only negative 20. So I had some pretty miserable days there just because it was so horribly cold. So the story that I wanted to tell you is about a guy named Turdflinger. Turflinger or Turdflinger, it was his nickname. I don't know how he got it. I'm not even sure if it was Turdflinger or Turflinger, or what the difference is. Thanks for signaling. I'll just wait here longer now. So Turdflinger was the kind of guy, he was like the youngest guy on the crew, but he was always the most exhausted guy on the crew, because in the town of Sidney, Montana, gambling was legal. But the only type of gambling that was legal was electronic or video Keno. Just like you would sit at a machine and you would pick some numbers. It was like the city council got together and they said, okay, let's make gambling legal, but only the lamest kind of gambling. And that's what they did. And so that's why all the bars in town were filled with video Keno machines. And Turflinger could not get enough of them. Every night after work, he would go to one of these bars, and he would just stay there way too late and come to work the next morning just destroyed. There was a big van that went around and picked up all the guys, and we would all carpool out together. The Turdflinger would get in the van, climb to the very back, and fall asleep on the way to the job site. And then during lunch break, he would eat something really quick and go and climb in the van again, while the rest of us were just kind of hanging out and talking to each other. He'd go climb in the van and get some extra sleep, because he just couldn't sleep at night because he had to get him some video Keno. So one day I told him, he actually confessed to me once that there was a room on this gas plant that was really warm because of the equipment that was in there. And he used to go there and sleep sometimes. When people thought he was working, he would just disappear and sleep in this room. And he took me there once, and it was like a generator type room. That's why it was so warm. And it sounded like the end of the world in there. It was something like, you sleep in here? It was so loud in there. Side note, this is a really nice neighborhood. This is one of the neighborhoods that I think, I could live here if I lived, if I were going to live in Panama forever, this would be an okay neighborhood, except the houses are too close together. Anyways, Turdflinger was sleepy. Often. He was often very sleepy. And one day he came to work and he seemed extra. I mean, he was always a little bit strung out. But today he was a little bit extra. You could just see it, man. He was just really hammered. And somebody asked him, I can't remember who, one of the guys asked him, hey man, you alright, man? What happened to you last night? And he told us this story, and to this day I cannot believe he told us what actually happened to him. He walked into a bar and there was a guy there. This was a small town, so you ended up getting to know everybody, like the barflies in town. But here was this guy that he had never seen before. And he walked in and this guy had like 5 girls around him. Like all the ladies were into this guy. So Turf was like, man, I gotta go be friends with this guy so he can help me get the ladies, help me score on some chicks. Well, they hung out, and this guy was like a really cool guy, and he was buying everybody drinks. And then at the end of the night, he invited Turf back to his place, and Turf was like, yeah, sure, why not? He was living in a motel or something like that, and this guy had a house in town, so he went back, and I think maybe some other people went back too, and they were all hanging out at this guy's house. Well, eventually everybody else kind of filtered out and left, and it was just Turf and this other guy. And this guy goes into the kitchen and comes back and brings him a pill. Like he told me it was like a blue, it was a blue pill and with a diamond shape. I think that's what he told me. And Turf took it. He just popped it in his mouth. He's like, yeah, okay, this is my new friend. He's giving me some cool pills, so he takes the pills. Not a lot of drug testing, I guess, goes on in the industrial electrical world. So Turdflinger starts to feel very weird not long after taking the pill, and he asked the guy, hey, I need you to take me home. I'm not feeling so hot. My head is feeling funny. Can you drive me back into town? And the guy's like, yeah, sure, no problem. I could drive you into town. And he just sits on the couch and starts watching TV. And so Turf's confused, and he's like, doesn't want to be rude. So he just gives it a minute, and then he asks again, hey, I really need you to take me into town. My head, I don't feel good. And the guy's like, yeah, sure, I'll take you into town. Just give me a minute. Sits there and watches TV. So Turf starts to freak out a little bit, and he decides he's just going to leave. And he walks out of this guy's house in the middle of the night, not totally sure where he is, in the middle of winter. Could have been like negative 40 degrees outside, or less Fahrenheit, people. So one of the reasons this neighborhood is so good is because there's a shopping center right here with a grocery store and a movie theater and everything, so you could just walk to all that stuff. Anyways, Turdflinger leaves this guy's house and starts walking back to the city. There's no traffic, there's no one that he can bum a ride from. He could have died, he could have frozen to death out there if this drug would have really knocked him out. I guess it was a roofie, I don't know. But the stupid thing was, the guy didn't slip it in his drink or anything, he handed it to him. And Turf was like, oh cool, thanks. Popped it in his mouth. So he ended up making it home, but that's why he was extra drawn out. And the reason that really, he almost got raped. He almost got raped. And he showed up to work the next day and he was like, well, we asked him why he was so tired, and he goes, well, I almost got raped last night. Like, that just shocked me that he would say that, because I felt like had that happened to me, I would have kept it a secret. I never would have told anybody. But he was totally open about it. And then what surprised me again was that the rest of these very rough, tough guys that worked on this crew, when they heard that story, they didn't ridicule him to death over it. there's sort of this camaraderie that happens when you work a job like that, because you're all away from your families and you're in the middle of somewhere that's usually horrible. I mean, they don't drill for gas or refined gas in nice places, or drill for oil in nice places. So you go and work on these crews, and it's a pretty horrible life, and you end up, all you have is these other rough guys. So I thought it was cool that he didn't get made fun of too badly. I mean, we all joked about it a little bit, but we suggested next time maybe he should call one of us and we would come and help him. But it was kind of cool to see that camaraderie in action. When I first got to that job site, I was in a room full of everybody, and somebody asked me how many DUIs I had, because they had a company vehicle, and there was a forklift, and if you had a clean driving record, you could operate some of the equipment. And I said 0, and I don't have any DUIs. And the room just stopped. Oh, there's an ambulance behind me. The siren wasn't on, so he must not have been in a hurry. Sorry. So the room stopped, and everybody turned and looked at me, and somebody says, "How is that even possible?" Like, they were so dumbfounded by the fact that I could be an adult and have 0 DUIs. That's just the kind of guys that work those jobs. They're rough guys. Maybe I'm a rough guy too. I don't know. I don't really see myself as that, but I'm pretty comfortable working in places like that. And I worked in Iraq as a private contractor, so maybe I am a little rough guy, but I see that some of those other guys been in and out of jail and all these other problems. So I know I'm not that rough. Anyways, that's my true story for today. Ride safe, travel far, do it soon.